Giles, thanks for coming in.
No problem,
Cool, man.
No problem.
I'm going to get started right at the beginning. For me, I just real quick, because I always try and give a little bit of context for how because I can't think of the actual first time that I met you physically, but one of the stories I often tell is the first time I went to the hardware office.
Right.
And I came down the stairs, and I'm sorry guys, but it is what it is, and I saw Clayton in the middle of like all these white boys, like basically who were working for him, and I always told him it was like a reverse plantation, and like, do you know what I mean? And I don't mean that horribly, it was just what I felt. But it was inspiring to me as, you know, a black label owner, that at the time he probably was one of only a couple black label bosses at the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the only black promoters, certainly, and he obviously sort of supported your career from the inception. I would have thought, and that's the thing why I'm so glad, because I don't actually know how the whole relationship between you and Andrew and Renegade Hardware started. So I've got to start there.
Yeah. So we had already been making music for the infamous Basement Records.
Oh, right, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who were also running vinyl distribution at the time.
Phil Wells,
yeah, there was a lot of control of a lot of the major labels and the distribution of their vinyls and music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I came up on affiliated with Basement Records first. I remember one day, to rewind it all the way back.
Yeah.
I was playing pirate radio station Defection FM,
right.
A station owned by Stitch, and I think it was after sort of the Weekend Rush and basically after the era of radio stations. It was one of the last remaining pirate radio stations, because, you know, DTI just come and just took all your equipment, and then people just thrown in jail and all kinds of stuff was happening around that time. But Defection was still running. I was playing down there with an old school friend called Quest. It was Ink and Quest,
right?
You know, I never really came up with a partner, but that was my first partner in that sense.
Cool.
And then we went on to become the Architects after that, with J Dub.
Okay.
So I'm playing pirate radio station Defection, and two women walk in, and you got this blonde hair dread chemistry.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, shining, looking like some sapphire.
Yeah.
And then Storm.
Yeah.
As well. Just these two ladies coming in and jamming it out the way they did.
Yeah.
I was like, wow,
yeah.
I need to know these people.
Yeah.
And then from there, we just hit it off, because we're all about the music. We're all about music. The art of DJing was very important.
And they just rolled on into the place that's come play.
Rolled into the place, rolled it out. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to know these people.
Yeah.
So I spoke to them, and it turned out they live 5 minutes from me.
Amazing. And where's this? Where's you grow up?
I grew up in Haringey.
Right, okay.
I grew up in a particular crouch end in between Tottenham and Arsenal. Mm-hmm. And I went to school round there.
Got ya.
And they lived in Finsbury Park. So they're not far from where I grew up all my life. So I was like, rah, we need to link. So we linked. From there to this day, you know, I'm good friends with Jane, and rest in peace, chemistry. So that was our first meeting. I then played her a demo tape, literally tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally a tape. And she was like, oh, well, I'm going up to, because she used to go do the rounds around the whole of London, and she used to go up to vinyl distribution, pick up test presses and stuff. She said, oh, why don't you come with me? I was like, what, wicked.
Yeah.
Went up there, and then that's how I got to meet Phil, introduced to him, played in the tape.
The infamous.
Yeah. And he heard something. Something. So he's like, yeah, come up to the studio. Work with Roger Johnson. Another legend.
Yeah,
Basement.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, wow, yeah, definitely. So I got the boys, we scooped up, we went up there, and that's when we became the Architects and made Blueprint, and that was the 50th and all of that.
Yes, of course. Yes. I've got the vinyl. So yeah.
So that's how that all came about.
Yeah.
And then, well, I would say a year after that, something, down Music House, which was down in the Holloway
Road,
area.
yeah.
And I'm cutting a dub plate, me and Leon just catching joke, whatever.
Yeah.
Clayton walks in. So he hears me cutting some stuff. He sits down. He's like, "Yeah, what's happening, man?" I introduced myself to him because I know who he is, obviously, from TOV and just the scene in general.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about music, and he goes, "Yeah, so." What's your favourite music? I just told him a few people, and then he was like, "Yeah, my favourite is the Architects." And he said Architects. I was like, "Rah, does he mean architects?" And that was how we met. Like, his favourite tune at the time was Blueprint.
Yeah.
So I was like, wicked, man. Like, this guy who runs TOV is saying his favourite track, and not many people knew us at the time.
Yeah.
We didn't have the backing like that,
Yeah.
but we had Bookham playing our music.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
And he always used to call me Giles on the radio, he never used my artist name.
Yeah.
So no one really knew what was going on with any of that.
Yeah.
So I was surprised when he said that. And then afterwards he was like, "Yeah, you got to do something at the time because of our style for Renegade."
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a bit more musical
Yeah.
and down that line. And Speed was open those days, so
Yeah.
we were making tracks towards that club, and that's how the whole Liquid thing and musical and intelligent labels started to come out.
Yeah.
Because we were making that type of basically chord influenced music,
Yes,
jazzy melodic music.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
So he said, "Make something for the label." And at the time, our equipment just needed a revamp. So my studio was down. I was like, "Listen, we will do it." And it took ages for me to set up again.
Yeah.
But I was always DJing. By the time I had set up, I think Andrew Loxley had come into our studio.
Yeah.
Because I knew him from even before that.
Right. Okay.
And he said, "Yeah, let's make a tune." And he had already made a tune with Usual Suspects. I think it might have been Stalker, the first one.
Right, okay,
like
yeah.
Maybe before that.
Okay, I'm happy to cast my back with the radio.
Yeah, it's a long time.
That's a big catalogue. That's a massive catalogue.
Yeah,
as well, man.
yeah. So he had already done something with them, and he's like, "Yeah, let's make a tune." So we made a tune, and my first tune on Hardware was Airlock.
Right.
And it was with Lox.
Yeah.
So because that happened, for some reason, it became the dynamic duo of Loxy and Ink. But we never got down like that. We were friends.
Yeah.
But because we had made a tune together, people just thought it appropriate to put us together. And some people thought it was Loxy Incorporated. So they didn't even think that I even existed in that sense.
As early as that.
Yeah, so that's the beginning, basically.
Yeah.
That was the beginning, how it all kicked off.
And then you obviously pushed on through all of that, what you're doing, and then the label Architects.
That's right. Phil was kind enough to say, "Look," because I said I've got loads of tunes, and Basement obviously had lots of artists, and Phil was doing his own thing with vinyl, with Lance and all of that.
Yeah.
He was kind enough to just say, "Look, just have your own label."
Yeah.
So I started Architecture Recordings.
Yeah.
And then we just put stuff out there. I also had a few other labels that we did lots of pseudonyms, code names and code things for, and we put a whole lot of stuff out via vinyl distribution in that sense. And that was about 96, 97, I think it was.
Golden era, mate.
It's like
so that's like peak. So I mean that takes us nicely into. So you mentioned Speed, and that hasn't been mentioned yet on here. Because I think for me, me and Equinox, it was church. You know what I mean? Like, but it was a small, weird little church with just like really smart people who really loved that particular god. That was a certain style of drum and bass.
Right.
And we didn't really give a shit that the rest of drum and bass thought we were snobs. I didn't care. And that's fine. And I know people will probably hear me say that now and think I'm a cunt, but like I always thought a lot of it was superior. When you hear a tune like Heat or from Wax Doctor or something like yours,
that's where the whole intelligent thing came from, because
yeah.
it was like removed from what the sound was. But It was just a label. It was all the same music boiling out of the same. There was
so many black people making it anyway, so it wasn't like it was a white thing or a black thing per se. Because I went down to speak, there's a bit of black man in there rocking out to Amon, so it was like, you know.
That's right.
So it was like you had people that like jazz and you had people that like rock and roll. Whatever.
That's right.
It was the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
So speed was similarly important, you know, particularly, you know, with sort of fallouts and craziness that used to happen then, certain fights that I saw and stuff like that. But then obviously that led into, well, it's just around the corner from here, the legendary Blue Note. You know, I think you could probably do a little tour around here of like all the jungle
famous
spots.
places. Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely.
Tell us, because I hate you for having played there, but I was there. Yeah. I was bloody there. I'm not one of these people that how old are you, mate? You know, 26. No, you shut up. You weren't a Blue Note. Cunt, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, just to annoy me. Sorry, I've said cunt twice now. But you can swear, it's fine. But it's. I mean, I probably never cried publicly so much because of music, because of Blue Note, because of sets from you, from Clarkey, from Pesce, from, you know, Ryder on occasion. You know, there was so much great music there. But what was that like, being involved in the early days of?
Listen, I remember being Chemistry in Storm's house.
Oh, Chemistry Storm was here, yeah.
And because they ran the organisation of it from the inception.
They did, yeah.
And I remember them saying to me specifically, "We are going to start a night."
Wait, so it was their idea to start a night?
It wasn't their idea.
Oh, okay.
They were the driving force behind the organisation of it, because at the time Goldie was doing his thing. I think that was the Bjork time, and he was just had his album out, so it was all about Timeless.
Yeah.
So I don't think he had time to put the nuts and bolts into the beginning of it.
Sure.
Because I do remember sitting in Chemistry and Storm's house and her saying to me, "We're going to start a night, and this is where it's going to be.
Yeah.
We're going to try and find room for you," because at the time I was with Quest. That's how they met us. And I do remember there being 10 weeks of Blue Note from when it started. I didn't actually play, but I knew about it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So I was a bit upset in that sense, but I knew why, because I was with Quest.
Yeah.
But after a short period of time of it running, me and Quest went separate ways. Quest, I was still good friends, but he decided to move into his dad's shop, which is an antique shop, and I carried on with the music. Yeah. So I then told him at that time, "Look, it's just ink."
Yeah.
And then I managed to find a spot. They found me a spot there. And we were known as the new breed. I think it was Clarkey.
Yes.
Marley Marl.
Yeah.
Bailey came in after that. Loxy.
Yeah.
Myself. Sorry if I've missed anyone, but
I don't think you have.
Yeah, we were known as the new breed anyway.
Yeah.
And what we would do is it would be from 7 till midnight, I think it was, the club run.
6.
There you go.
Because I was a sad loser and I used to leave my house at 4 o'clock.
There you go.
And wait for about...
I was there every Sunday.
4:45, I used to be standing outside.
Religiously.
Yeah, waiting.
Even when I wasn't playing, it used to give me, you know, butterflies, like that anxious feeling because of how great... the people were who were coming to play, and the music, Chris, the music. I
just can't get across to some of these people how important some of these nights were.
Yeah.
You know, because there was literally groundbreaking. There was history being made every week.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
Yeah,
and even the people that were there, that were enjoying it. Sorry to jump in, but I just have to say this. Even the people that were there knew. I think a lot of people that were there knew that history was being made at the time. I mean, did it feel like that? I mean,
well,
maybe not.
I know a lot of people say that, but no, I can say.
Remember being too romantic.
But no, I can say yes.
Right.
It felt like that because of the fact that one day Goldie's there. He'll walk in and we'll be upstairs eating some Jamaican food, because they used to prepare yard food upstairs. Yeah, yard food upstairs, right? For those who don't know, yard food, Jamaican food, blah, 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 blah. And Goldie was there with Lauryn Hill one night. What? And he's there with Val Kilmer the next night. So we were seeing, literally.
I didn't know that.
So we were seeing all these different friends of Goldie coming in who would come down to check the music because they were friends of Goldie.
Why was Val Kilmer friends with Goldie?
Right, they're good friends. Like, you know, that's just Goldie.
Wow.
He just has that sense of, you know, he basically penetrated most of Hollywood, like with, you know, with his music and his personality, and we got to see most of the people. So yes, in real time, it felt like history was being made because I could stand here and Lauryn Hill was standing there. Without all of the crowd and everything. Oh well, I'm just, you know, because it's a young me.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, like that's Lauryn Hill standing there. And,
yeah, I probably would have spoken.
You see what I'm saying? And,
and
what Goldie had achieved obviously was massive. So it made it, you know, it made everything just surreal.
That's insane. I remember seeing Bjork there, and she was barefoot.
There you go.
And she looked like an angel. Like, I mean, like literally, she's
Bjork, yeah, like, and that would, you know, that was his girlfriend or the person, his partner for a period of time. So we would see her regularly. You know, and Bjork, you know, ask anyone who was a fan of Bjork, you know,
she was about it. She knew her thing. She knew her music.
She knew what was going on, and I think he actually done a track with her in the end as well. So, so in real time, we were seeing the stars.
That's mental.
You know, and the music had brought on all of this magnetism to Blue Note in particular, and then because of the success of Blue Note, the Sunday sessions, we then had a Saturday session down at Leisure Lounge.
Yes, I remember.
In the Holborn area.
Yeah, remember? Yeah.
And off the back of that, we were in Café de Paris.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I went to all of them.
Drum and bass.
Yeah,
Café de Paris.
Yeah.
We had to get stitched up, suited and booted, and go into this club, but then hear the beats we were playing.
Yeah.
For me, like, I was looking around Café de Paris thinking, wow.
Yeah.
Our music has made it into this type of place. So, you know, it just increased in size and in volume, and
got to shout out Cleveland Watkins real quick as well. Always
every day. Big up Cleveland.
Yeah.
You know, the voice of metalheads alongside, you know, MC Justice.
Course,
you know, and there was a few other cats as well, but because Justice was my good friend, and, you know, we grew up together. I do remember his first inception into Blue Note metalheads. There was no one on the mic, and I was playing.
Right.
So pick up the mic.
Yeah.
And he had been MCing on Defection.
Right.
It was him who brought me to Defection.
Right.
With his partner, Prospects Crew.
Right.
And I went on their show to play. And that's how I got in. So it was funny how at Metalheads now, I was like, yeah, pick up the mic.
Right.
And once he picked up the mic, that was it. He became the Justice he is today. Now he's working, you know, went on to work with Sigma and just a massive MC of the time.
Is. Legend.
That's how that all started back in the day. And I was there obviously with Loxy at the time. Blue Note, in its first few weeks, you know, no one knows it's there. So we were on the come up. I remember there being enough space for Goldie to break dance in the area. And then by the end of it was one of the longest running clubs in one location.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, you saw the queues. The queues used to break out onto the high road. So it became this mad thing. And then we did a documentary called Talking Heads, and that kind of galvanized.
It's online. Go and watch it. It's brilliant.
Talking Heads, really good one. If you want to know about the history of the music and the people involved and how it came about, that kind of it kind of pitches it all together and centralizes it and gives it a real home. So we did that, and then drum and bass was on the international flex, but not breaking every country in the way it has done and does now. It was on the come up in a lot of places, and some countries just hadn't heard it. And a lot of people who wanted to hear our music abroad had to do a lot of homework.
Honestly, speak to some of the Americans about what they had to
go
through
to just get a piece of vinyl. So that was that timeline. Really.
I mean, I remember hearing Misha Paris ad-libbing to Exit 9.
Right.
That's one of my most. That's one of my most clearest
Right.
memories. Like, I
Yeah.
was standing right next to him, which is doing it as well. But I guess Cleveland must have invited her down or something, or someone
Right,
invited her down.
yeah.
I mean, I assume it's Cleveland. Sorry.
Yeah, Cleveland or Goldie.
Goldie, yeah, I'm
who
sure.
knows?
And she was just like doing that.
Yeah, I think it would have been Goldie. I think he knows Misha quite well.
I'm sure,
I think
right?
He just shouted her, and after what was it? The show that he did. Did we have the Olympics? What was the athletics meet that we had this year in Birmingham?
Oh, the Commonwealth Games.
There you go.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool.
There you go.
So yeah, and she was just like, and she's legends, British soul legends. It was just like, why is Misha Paris it? Why should the mic? She's doing it to Exit 9. Oh my god, she's flexing over Eamon.
Crazy,
I was just like, it's crazy, and it was such. It was like a conduit of just everything like that was cool and interesting and ahead of its time. Really, there was so much stuff that you'd hear there, like sort of like the early days of like that, the tech step thing was coming in.
Yeah.
That's where I heard all the August.
Groove Rider named it Hard Step first.
Hard Step first.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, Hard Step to me, Hard Step was, I don't know, because he called it Hard Step.
I remember him playing Splash.
Right.
On radio, rewound it 3-4 times.
Yeah.
And he said, this is called Hard Step. But the name didn't stick.
No, because
the music did. Though.
Yeah.
The name didn't stick.
See, Hard Step to me was like that sort of rock, like, sort of like, I guess some of the early digital stuff, or, do you know what I mean? Where it was like very tough, but not very sort of syncopated rhythms per se. There wasn't a lot of choppage or whatever. It wasn't like
right,
you know
breakage and breaks
all
and
them
stuff,
guys and stuff like that. So it didn't. Hard Step was always sort of more jungleistic in its nature. But,
right,
do you know what I mean?
right.
But Tech Step was definitely okay. This sounds industrial. This doesn't sound like. Well, I'm just gonna be honest. It didn't sound like black people were making it. I was gonna be real because do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was being real.
It moved off the center of what we thought jungle was.
Yes, and that's not a
100%.
bad thing. It was just
it was
evolving.
Evolving.
It's
evolving.
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
And the emotive recordings and Sour Records and all those sort of days. So anyway, I could bang on about that for ages. But what I want to get to is was that when your relationship? So you obviously did you do stuff? Did you carry on doing stuff with hardware during that whole time? Was that was like your
So pretty much around that same timeline. So if you bear with me, we got the Blue Note thing happening.
Yeah,
and then at the same time we got the Speed thing happening.
Yes.
Yeah, just after the inception of Blue Note and Metalheads in that sense.
Yeah.
Then the Speed thing.
Yeah.
And then alongside that, just after that, hardware started to emerge.
Right.
As well. So yeah, that's the timeline really. It was around a 3 or 4 year period that the music started to change, and people like Optical influence in the music.
Absolutely.
Bookham, obviously, every time you heard Bookham, you would be associated with a certain style there.
Because I guess Logical Progression started around that time.
Yes,
as well.
around that time.
Yeah.
And then you have Goldie with Timeless album, which is basically pushing the whole of drum and bass into areas, Hollywood. You would watch films like The Jackal starring Bruce Willis.
Yes.
And at the beginning of that, you hear Demon's Theme, I think it was.
What?
Yes, but one of Bookham's tunes anyway. Maybe not Demon's Theme.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's Demon's Theme.
No. Okay. Jeez, I'm going to have to go check that. Right,
and then slightly after that, Source Direct.
Yeah, in Blade. When Stephen Dorff is listening to it, it's like,
there you go. And for me, sitting in the cinema,
listening
to one of the most grittiest drum and bass tunes play in this guy's headphones.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a vampire, but it's cool. It's like it's a vampire.
It was like, okay, we've done it.
Yeah.
Because we've come from the streets to this screen in this cinema.
Yes.
Like, it's like, for me, it was like Source Direct. They had taken it to that level. That was like the first, some of the first kind of Galacticals, if you want. For me, anyway.
Legends.
And it just took the music into the stratosphere after that.
So Architecture Recordings, that continued.
Yes, I was running Architecture to this day. I think we're only on 71.
Right, okay.
We've been running for like 20 odd years. Slow on that. But I did put all of my efforts into Renegade Hardware. As a DJ, as a producer, part of the admin, working alongside Yoko, rest in peace. Yes. Mark, Scott, Chris, lots of different people.
Yeah.
But my focus became Hardware simply because Hardware focused on me as I was coming up.
Yeah.
And in this scene, I haven't had many people, apart from the ones I've just mentioned, actually say, you know what, why don't you just come with us?
Yeah.
You know, I've kind of done it by myself pretty much.
Yeah.
Most of my career. So to have Hardware be that backbone, and then me be the backbone for Hardware at the same time via A&R and stuff. I just thought it, you know, the thing to do. You know, I believe in loyalty and being loyal. I know, you know, that word doesn't get thrown around that much anymore.
Not much, no.
As I
well know. I mean, can you talk about your relationship with Clayton? I mean, what's that? I mean, what was that like?
Like I say, that's how we met. Clayton's, you know, he grew up on the streets. Pretty much, like, straight up. He grew up on the streets, so he has his way.
Yeah.
He has his way.
Yeah.
I know a lot of street cats. I wouldn't say I grew up on the street as such, but my life is, you know, it followed those lines.
Yeah.
So I could relate to him.
Yes.
Very much so. In our arguments, there was always an understanding of where he's coming from, whereas a lot of people, they meet him once, meet him twice, and they're done with him. Type thing. You know, that's just the way Clayton is. So after being an artist for one of the labels, Renegade Hardware, like I said earlier, I more and more would associate with the staff members and became part of the staff just by association. After that, we helped bring through a lot of artists. If you look at the EPs that were released on Renegade Hardware between 2000 and 2010, that's me and Loxy bringing in a lot of that to Hardware.
So, because one of the things I've always said, and Clayton's probably going to hate me for saying this, but Renegade Hardware had some of the biggest artists. I mean, Clayton and yourselves obviously were genius A&R executives, to be quite fair. Let's have it right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking Pendulum, Chase the Status.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Usual Suspects.
Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
You know, you brought through, you know, Future Forces with
Conflict.
D-Bridge, and Conflict.
Kamal.
Kamal Rob Data. Like, I mean, the names were just non-stop. I mean, you call it Galacticos. I mean, that's probably an apt name for Renegade Hardware.
Yeah, that's how I refer to them.
Yeah.
Because they went on to do stuff
so big,
which would change would change the course of this music.
100%.
And a lot of producers, knowingly or unknowingly, now follow what their blueprint was. Especially the way Hardware was, that you can see now there are a lot of big labels now that were inspired by that label and what Clayton has done. I know they would, you know, they wouldn't like to mention Clayton in a sentence, but they've got to give him all the label props for the doors that were opened.
Absolutely.
Because of, you know, what we did down there.
Yeah, absolutely. So. I mean, there was some incredible artists on there, and I've got to mention the 199 2 pieces of chicken and chips.
Yeah. The shop down the road. Yeah.
Probably caused enough, you know, arteries to harden. like, I mean, that whole time was a very sort. I can't quite say it because I've been up all night, and you know, very sort of inventive time, you know, for drum and bass. And when the biggest tunes, you know, like, you know, I mean, Messiah, like, in terms of like a tune and the size of it, you know, in comparison to drum and bass, it's probably one of the biggest hits, you know, ever. Like, do you know what I mean?
Everyone gets to hear Messiah. Here's one I've done already, but there was a progression and a movement towards it, and a artist building. You know, we had to play in this venue for that track to be made, and with those guys in particular, they sent their dats to other people, and they got returned to sender.
Right.
You know.
Jesus.
So yeah, there was a lot of artist development before people could actually make a track that had that sort of an impact. So you got to big up the hardware artists, because we inspired each other, especially when we went down the N Club. There was a Renegade Hardware down at the N Club, and everyone knew. And they knew they needed to come with something special, so they would make tracks. There's a few clubs in my time that literally influenced what artists were doing.
Yeah.
One of them was Speed, the other one was Blue Note.
Absolutely.
And the N Club for me.
Yeah.
There obviously are other clubs. You can go, before that, AWOL, and you can go on to, where World Dance was held down at Lid Airport and stuff. But now we're going right.
We're going right back. Got to mention Swerve as well, though, because that was sort of
there you go.
Around that time.
When I say Speed, I also incorporate Swerve, because it went on to become Swerve.
Swerve, right? Yeah, because it kind of felt. See, in my head, because as a I'm fanboy at that time. It felt like Speed split into Swerve and Logical Progression.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it's basically Danny and Fabio just decided to go off and do their own projects.
Right. Okay.
After a long period of doing Speed. It ran for ages and influenced the scene. To this day.
Yeah.
We now have all kinds of music, Liquid or whatever.
Yeah.
The Hospital sound and stuff like that. A lot of it.
Well, the Hospital sound is Kaching. That's what the Hospital sound is.
You would know more than that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a joke I used to say all the time. That is the sound. It's not about ethics. It's about money. And that's fine, because it's a business like anything other.
Right. Yeah.
But that's why they are the way they are. That is right. But for me, the real sort of soul of drum and bass comes from labels like Hardware. It's alright. I've done the therapy. It's okay. But the soul of what drum and bass really was about is from the likes of Hardware, from the likes of Metalheads, from the likes of V Recordings. In a different way, obviously. You know what I mean? But the contribution was there. I mean, the movement, being a weekly, for example, on a midweek.
There you go. Yeah. That's what
seminal.
That's what I'm alluding to. The fact that you would open this club and the artist would sit at home. Sometimes the artist would go down. I remember Shogun saying that he would just go down to Speed, then hit the studio, turn off all the lights after a night in Speed, and stay up all night making the next big tune that Bookham can play or come out on Good Looking, or we could play, stuff like that. So, or Renegade recorders can put out. So
sorry, that just reminded me. Did Clayton really plan on kidnapping Bookham? Did he? Was that?
Or if Clayton has said it in his book, I haven't read his book because I was there most of the time. So I didn't read it for that reason. It's like I don't want to relive these things. But yeah, a lot of it, yes, I can confirm a lot of it. The only thing that did go around in the scene was Clayton turned up to Music House with a submachine gun.
A gun to steal the DAT.
To steal the DAT, and that's not what happened. What the long and short of it, I was there the whole time, and me and Leon were catching Joe.
Yeah.
What happened is Kamal had done this tune.
Yeah.
Clayton wasn't going to give the tune because he had done artist building with Conflict.
Yeah.
The guys, obviously, as artists, wanted to put their tune on the biggest labels. Bad Company as a label had come along at Bad Company time. As you know, their impact was just ridiculous.
Seminal.
Who wouldn't want to put their music out on their label? And they would have been the first outsider to be on that label. Yeah. So he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And Clayton wasn't having it. So there was that altercation. And then he was like, nope, I'm snatching that. And ended up putting it on Renegade Hardware.
Right.
So there was right and wrongs for everyone,
of course,
in that scenario. But definitely there was no submachine gun.
Because I had someone, quite a well-known artist, who would be ashamed if I'd named him, standing in my house when I used to live with Steve Survival, and was like, "No, man, it's true. He had a shooter. He was going to do something. He was going to do something." I'm like, "Bruv."
There would have been no need as well. It's Kamal.
I mean, I've never met him.
It's Kamal. If you ever met Kamal, quiet dude, understated, but could make titans of tunes.
Yeah. And let's have it right.
It was never about.
Let's have it right. Before people out there are going, "Oh, that's disgusting." there's shit about most of the label bosses, including myself. No, not really. But like, there's shit about, probably some of your most beloved, elderly DJs and producers that if ever came out, it'd be the end of them. So Clayton's shit is out there. People know about it, and he's had to deal with that. And that's that's just being black, basically. That's just another. I'm sorry about it. It just pisses me off. Sorry, but it annoys me.
It's one of those. Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and defend every one of Clayton's actions, because I'm sure he's had some run-ins with people which you could have avoided. But at the same time, you need to give credit to the people who basically have opened the door for so many artists. If you look at that label, just the label. Just look at the label. Look at the artist.
Yeah.
And focus on the artist before they went on the label. There was nothing happening. And it happened for them there.
Yeah.
Now they're off onto bigger things and don't really care and whatever it is. And some do,
should.
But you do have to give the enterprise props. First and foremost.
I mean, I'll always have respect for Bad Company. I mean, and even actually, I was giving props to El Hornet of Pendulum recently.
Yeah.
Because he helped, he without me knowing, he helped me get a better set at a gig in Perth.
Ah, okay.
He was speaking to the promoter. The promoter was like, I'm going to put Chris Perspective on at 5 to 6 because he's like a booking guy. He's like, no, I'll go to their technicality night, man. You got to put him on after Callets and TB.
Oh, right, okay.
And then he was like, oh, okay. So he was like, okay. So he just said, all right, I'll do what you say. And then I'm playing after Callets and TB. And it was like, it was cool. Tidy. So thank you again, El Hornet. And apparently he lives around here, so I'd love to get him on one time. Now, so Dance to Titanium Minds, I've just got to quickly mention that. If you haven't heard that tune, that was, I mean, if there was going to be, I shouldn't do it, but I'm going to. I've got to attach architecture with technicality a little bit because there was so much music from yourselves, from you, and obviously Loxy and Ink and the whole thing, and obviously Renegade Hardware, but that tune in particular probably got played nearly every single technicality.
Oh, really?
If there was like a technicality, golden top 10, that would be definitely up there.
I've never known that.
Yeah,
I heard about techno. Like, it's a shame that I didn't meet you around that time because it was years after.
Yeah, it was a very long time after.
And I never knew that the music had that sort of a policy.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah,
I'm quite a
you thought we were just crazy
isolated guy.
Right, okay.
I am quite an isolated guy, and when I, a lot of the time when I'm out, I'm actually listening.
Yeah.
So a lot of people would confuse that with me being moody because I'll be standing there kind of, but I'm actually listening to what's going on and listening to frequencies and listening to how did that happen? And it would be misconstrued as me having like a bad attitude and stuff. So a lot of people found it hard to approach me, and also with Lox it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But over the years, we've ironed. He's ironed it out a lot more than me. But
he actually smiles in pictures now.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it was a Scala. I think it was upstairs. I actually was like, come on, just give me a little smile. Come on, I just got a smile. Yeah. But but I like the whole mystery thing. It's good. You can have a smile. It's fine.
That's how we that's how I came up on the flex really.
Now I've got to ask you because you even mentioned it earlier on that people thought it was Loxy Incorporated and it's something that's always kind of pissed me off personally, because it's like, well, why don't people book Ink? Like, do you know what I mean? And I don't mean that they don't book you, but it was either we'd always sort of see Loxy and Ink or Loxy, and that's not to do put a wedge or anything. I'm not trying to stir some shit here. I'm not Aaron Hwani, for those that know. But did that ever? You were obviously very focused on the music side of things. You were running your own label. Did it ever kind of like, oh, for fuck's sake, did it ever sort of get you back up, or did you just sort of like?
Initially, 150%.
Yeah.
Because I've done. I don't want to go on about what workload has happened in the scene.
Yeah.
But in the industry, I've worked hard to be a lot of different heads.
Yeah.
I've DJ'd for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I've produced for the same amount of time.
Yeah.
I've done flyering. I've done dances. I've been a promoter.
Yeah.
I've done my own flyering. I've been the guy outside giving out flyers.
Yeah.
If there's anything to do in drum and bass, over the years I've done it.
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, I'm worth you spelling my name right.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not asking for anything else. Just spell my name right.
Yeah.
You know, and perhaps maybe book me at a dance that, you know, you were influenced by my sound.
Yeah.
Rather than pretend that I didn't do it, pretend I wasn't there, pretend it was owned to people that I actually brought through.
Yeah.
Which is what happens a lot. You know,
apart from an origination, Boxing Day.
Yeah, there you go. Origination is there.
Origination, Boxing Day. Sorry, I've got to get plugging.
The fact is, without singing and dancing on about, you know, go and look at my discography or whatever.
But go and look at his discography. I'll do it.
The bottom line is, a lot of the artists who are these people's favourites, I brought these through, and they were influenced by a sound that I had done.
Absolutely.
And have gone on to do their own sound, and they will openly tell you that.
Absolutely.
But when you see the magazines and the articles, there's no mention of me.
Yeah.
And there's no mention of, you know, the movements that we help to basically increase the size of.
Yeah, absolutely.
We help the movements in that way. So yes, initially it did.
Yeah.
As I grew, as you have kids and, you know, life happens, you realise you doing you is the best thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And searching for validation from someone, maybe who you revere, or someone that you feel should, you know, notice you, is not as important as you just getting on with the work.
Yeah.
So to this day, like, I'm starting again with Soundwave. We're trying to do...
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, we're trying to do...
I'm really pleased to see that. I was like...
An event.
Yeah.
And a dance which touches on what we just...
Yeah.
You know, the sensibilities, the essence of where we came from and the sound. Because the sound has changed so much in D&B. You can go to a D&B dance and hear, you know, something that is completely foreign to what we grew up
Yes.
on. And then you can go to a dance which is exactly what we grew up on.
Yeah. Or you can see, see the line
between.
drawn between. Yeah.
So now I've started a new gig with Somatics and Loxy.
Yeah.
Just to try and bring back that old flavour.
Okay. So I expect a booking on the second one, yeah.
No doubt. That's on the 20th of January, still
20th
yard.
of Jan. I'm gutted. I will be in Miami actually. So
I'll check you out.
Yeah, sorry. But I've got a couple of gigs out there. But in fairness to me, my birthday's on the 10th of January, and I'll be 47. And I've never had a birthday of worth. I mean, apart from Helen, she did a special, rest in peace, Helen. She did a 40th surprise birthday for me, which about like 10 people came to. And then like on my 21st, I had 21 people at a restaurant in Lee Green. Apart from that, they've all been shit. So I'm really looking forward to being absolutely pissed on really high quality alcohol in Miami. Thanks Esteban Perry for that.
Big.
He's an amazing man.
Big up Esteban.
We got because like he was mentioning that it was a long time. I think you were out in America like.
Yeah, I haven't been back for a while. They're trying to get me back out there.
No. We were talking about it literally 3 days ago.
Yeah, love America. Yeah. To be honest, you know, in my career, without places like America and you know, parts of Europe and stuff. My career wouldn't have taken off because the sound wasn't one for driving up to, you know, up and down the British Isles. Yeah. My particular sound anyway. Yeah. But they loved it in America. When we did, I've forgotten the name of the tunes now.
No, it's alright.
Going off on a motherfucker like that.
Right.
You know, all those types of tunes. Where we sound,
someone in the comments will
sample easy. Yeah, you know, California Curse.
There you go, California Curse.
Tunes like that were massive in LA.
Yes, they would have been. Yeah.
You know,
because you used a lot of hip hop samples and stuff.
There you go. Yeah. And my
it wasn't just Aphrodite. Sorry.
My influence in hip hop is huge. I love hip hop since I was a toddler. And I've been infused with it, and my style and D&B has been infused with hip hop all the time. So it was a marriage of the sounds, and it really took off in America, and that's where my professional career kind of took off. So
there's two people I want to. Well, one person in particular I've got to mention with you being here is Gremlins.
Yes.
I mean, how did that relate? Because Gremlins for me. I think it's one of the most underrated. I mean, he's starting to get the ratings now. Finally.
Yeah. You almost can't paint him with that brush anymore because he is getting, like you say,
he's getting
the props. I'm sure he's got an LP on Metalhead's coming out very soon, which will kind of galvanise him
very much so. But in terms of like, if you're gonna say like raw, like drum and bass with capitals, all caps almost.
Yeah.
I can't think much past Gremlins in terms of some of the early works that he did, and then just that progression of like, you know. Yeah. And again, a lot of his stuff is played at technicality.
Yeah, Gremlins, Gabe. He's a very, very talented artist. True to the game. True to his sound. Like I say, we came up together. He sent me some demos back in the day. And since then we've become really, really good friends and working partners. I still work with him with the music and everything, and our sound is intertwined.
Yes,
you know, he's taken bits from me, I take bits from him, and we've just kind of through the years moved through a sound together. This is after the Blue Note period because he came after that.
Definitely. All of that. Well, a lot of his early works, because I remember getting the CDs from him when we started Technicality in '99.
There you go. Yeah,
that was what he was.
Around that time, he was one of the earliest in Canada, but
very much so. Yeah,
it came later after the period we were just talking about. Then So like you say, he's really grounded guy and works really hard and
loves his food.
Times,
Stop slagging off British cuisine. Twats. Had a massive argument about it. He goes, the food in England's shit. It's like, shut up. Don't know what you're doing. But no, he's
Korean
got
barbecue and all that.
Yeah.
He's tidied up his diet now.
Yeah? He's not turned vegan, is he?
No.
Oh, right, okay, no, he is.
Big up Linz every time. Like, that's my brother.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's literally my brother.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say from another mother because I call his mum.
Oh wow!
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just the respect that I have for him and his family. So what can I say, man? We've got projects coming out.
Oh really?
Brand new projects coming out. So 23. Look forward to that.
Yeah.
And he's got his own thing. He's got loads of labels. You know, the Droogs thing going on, and then what's it? UVB and
yes.
He's got and then he's got his own little factions and his own little crew that he's helped to bring through and carve a path for them as well. So
so
Vince is the man.
So Soundwave,
yes,
starting. That's going to be on
the 20th of January, the first event. We've just had the Soundwave EP come out. Friday.
Oh right, okay. I didn't catch that. Is it on all streaming platforms?
Yeah.
Cool.
On all platforms.
Right.
If you want to support the artist, go to Architecture, Bandcamp, Architecture Recordings,
definitely.
Bandcamp. So that's just kind of an exclusive LP EP in conjunction with the upcoming event.
Are you going to do that for each event? Are you going to do like a little?
That's the plan. Right. Obviously it's going to work. It's going to have to work around the artist going on holiday and not being available and stuff like that. But that's what we're going to try and do. We put the work in. And really try and bring up the sound in the way that I grew up in it and the way I see there's a massive gap for it. There is a gap for it.
Why do you think that is now? Do you think there's just things have just got dominated or?
A couple of things. Smoking ban changed everything. Because you could blaze up a spliff in a dance, listen to bass line, and then be inspired by what you heard while you're smoking. And a lot of people don't need to smoke to do that.
No.
But a lot of people do, especially in drum and bass.
Yeah.
And it changed the whole culture.
You know what? In all this conversation that we've been having, no one's bloody mentioned the smoking ban.
Yeah, that changed the culture.
It did change the culture massively. I didn't even ever think of that ever once. I mean, admittedly, you'd think, you couldn't...
Intimacy was a huge factor in Blue Note and Speed's... uprise.
Yeah, because everyone was staying in the place.
You stay in the place.
Yeah.
You get to hear how Bookham has mixed tune 1 to tune, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, 25,
Yeah, to tune 25.
I mean, he played his tunes. His tunes are long, innit?
And he played the tunes.
Yeah.
And because you were in that tight space, you would know when the hi-hat edit happened. You would know when the kick drum did this or did that. And you would literally see people in the middle of tracks asking for the rewind because of certain things that would happen in the tune.
Yeah.
Not just the first drop.
No.
So there's that. Then the closing of all of the clubs, that massively impacted the scene and moved it into a festival type scenario. So now you don't have the producers making tunes for the smaller intimate clubs. You have the producers trying to get to the festivals.
Yeah.
And in doing that, you have to make a carnival style sound.
Yeah.
Because what was working in the clubs wouldn't necessarily work in the festivals, although brave DJs will just do anything. You know, a brave DJ, you know, sometimes I see Shy, he'll just play anything. Literally anything. He'll just play Shy FX, that is. He'll play anything. He's more about what Shy sound is.
Right, okay.
Whereas a lot of people wouldn't do that. They would just play what is regular in these places. And if you then play what is regular, you then cut out a whole, you know, you're literally playing the tip of the iceberg.
I mean, I'm so educated on that.
These are the major things, and then obviously the inception of the internet as well. It's had its good and its bad, because with the internet we had AIM. So with AIM, which was the messenger, for those who don't know, messenger platform,
it's brilliant.
It meant that we could send tunes around the world, and I could sign a lot of artists from around the world I had never met. I've actually made a whole album with a good friend of mine that I haven't actually been in his presence because of the internet. So it had its advantages in that sense, but the disadvantage came in the fact that we weren't centralizing at Music House. A lot of it was centralized around Leon and the Dats.
Well, I've got my personal, I obviously have all respects to Music House, but there was 4 attempts I had to go there and cut dubs. I never got a dub cut.
Well, I can understand that. I can understand that, because
I
you had to go down
JTS.
there. You had to queue for ages, and
then
there was a pecking order.
Ryder would turn up and it was just it was heartbreaking. I was next in the queue, Joss. And he just turned up.
You turn up, and that was you done.
It was like Mystery Funk times as well. Do you know what I mean? It was like, you know, he's wearing leather.
That's the thing. Back in the day, there was more about ranks and stripes.
I mean, you know,
which is a respect thing at the same time. Whereas when the internet happened, the queue disappeared. Because now I can have my tune before yours, or this artist can be on this label without coming to meet the greats, as it were.
And then that's where I feel like a lot of the respect has been lost for some of that generation as well, because someone who has got a good sort of, you know, PR patter on social media will sort of feel that they should have this and this by particular. I mean, I've literally, without naming names, I do love this guy, but quite personally, particularly. But I mean, he literally brought in spreadsheets into a meeting once about how he saw his DJ fee progressing.
Oh wow!
And his remix fees and everything else, and I love him to bits. But it was interesting because it was like, okay, well, this is a different world now. Like, you know, this is not the world that I came up in. This is not the world that you came up in, and that's fine. You know,
we're used to the graph, but you could, if you look across most of the industries, you know, you see the same thing happening, and the people of old are saying the same thing. It's like, oh, well, back in my day, even you break it down to football, the World Cup's on there right now, so. You break it down to football, they'll be like, well, in my day, I only got $2,000 to do a month's, you know, football training, and now, you know, you can't compare the wages.
But,
so
I mean,
but
some of the conversations were insane. There was one DJ, I really want to mention his name, but anyway, he came in and he goes, so I just feel my career is just progressed in the right way, and I just want to be headliner on any event going forwards. And he was asked why. And then he said, well, you know, I just feel like my career's progressed, blah, 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 blah. So I should be headline on every event that we play. And again, he was asked why. He couldn't give you a reason why. He just felt
like that.
He should just be top billing. And these are the sorts of
that's the culture we're in now, isn't it?
It's not culture. It's just it's absence of culture. But I mean, in this particular individual, it's an absence of culture. But it showed me where we're at now, and there's those moments, and then I go to Rupture, or I go to Distant Planet, or I'm sure. Well, I'll be in Miami, but I'll go to the second Soundwave, and I'll
be playing.
I'll be playing. Thank you, mate. See, I've got him on camera as well.
Plug.
Yeah, plug. But I'll go to Soundwave and I'll experience that real, thing again, and I'm sort of like, I'm trying to be optimistic about what's happening, and actually that leads me on to sort of like, I guess if you want to call it the final sort of thing that I wanted to ask you about was obviously now the relationship you have and that I have with RNS.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of, I remember everyone saying when they heard that you signed, and I knew what was coming, right? Okay, right? That was a great time for me. I felt like I had the world's biggest fucking secret. Like, do you know what I mean?
Right.
That the first Loxy and Ink single on RNS wasn't going to be drum and bass.
Right. Yeah, that was a trump. That was a joker card. That was a joker
loved
card.
knowing that shit more than anything else. Honestly, seriously. And the people, so what's it going to be? I won't tell no one.
Everyone expected
because
the usual.
They wanted. Well, I mean, I wanted the usual if I'm being honest. But when you told me what you were doing, and I was like, yeah, okay. And then I heard the tune, and I was like, oi, you can actually fucking spit. I was like, because I was thinking, well, I wasn't sure. You know what I mean? And it actually, and this is so embarrassing, but I did get quite inspired to start writing myself, because I was like, well, not because I was like, if they could do it, I could, because I could never rap to that level, but it just gave me a bit of confidence to maybe try some shit and just try something different.
That's it. That's what that's
about. But you're never going to hear those. There's a lot. There was a lot of anger in them. But talk about that, because I think everyone, like you say, was expecting it to be that, typical sort of darker drum and bass sound, and you're there with like platinum bars. Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, leading up to it, it came from what we were discussing earlier. A lot of my work, a lot of work that I had done in the scene, it didn't get the support. You listen to the radio stations, it's only very few of the, like I say, the Galacticos who sort of like book them. I think Hype brought me up to Kiss at one time, and Fabio brought me on, and Groove has brought me on. And after those people had supported me in that way, and obviously Goldie with Blue Note and Metalheads.
Sure.
It kind of stopped there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I needed the next thing.
Yeah.
And I was never keen to put any type of lyrics on drum and bass, because drum and bass for me is a fulfilled music in itself.
In itself, yeah.
That's why I find it really hard to hear anything over the top of it.
Right, okay.
Because for me, it does everything anyway.
Yeah.
It's one of the genres of music that actually does everything anyway, for me.
Absolutely.
Personally. So I was looking for the next thing, and my love of hip hop, I just thought, right, I know a few guys who can write lyrics, and I can get into writing lyrics because I'm influenced by Nas and Wu-Tang and Raz Cars and all them man there. So I can do it. And my very first introduction to any of this was via the mic, because I couldn't mix.
Right.
So I thought, let's revisit that. And Lox Andrew said, yeah, all right, let's do it. So I formed Fifth Element.
Yes.
And Fifth Element came out from architecture.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Fifth Element.
Yeah.
It was 5 of us, two old school friends, Loxy, J-Dub, and then we had an honorary member, MC AD, and I think we brought MC Verse on, and then UK hip hop legend Sway, who was my cousin.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was Fifth Element.
Yes.
And we made Instinct.
Mercury Prize winner as well. Sway, wasn't he? Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So I made Instinct with these guys, and there was a sound there which wasn't happening.
Yeah.
This was before Tiny Temper changed, doing this thing and then it changing into way
proper,
before any of that.
Yeah. Lewis Parker, like proper British hip hop.
And Sway said at the time, "This is ahead of its time.
Yeah.
This is why people aren't getting it. It's just ahead of its time." And I never really did understand the concept until 10 years later, when I see people doing it in the chart, Rudimental, and this one, their music would start like this and then turn into drum and bass, and then they start rapping on it.
Yeah.
So there was a couple other tunes. I think Goldie did one with KRS-One.
He did, yeah.
You know, credible, where I'll be like, you know what, I'll play that today.
There was a Soul Williams thing with, well, he's more spoken word, but with Crust as well.
There you go.
Yeah, that's brilliant, yeah.
And those were the only ones that stuck out to me.
Yeah, there's a couple.
And there was a massive gap for it.
Yeah.
So we pushed Fifth Element.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the distribution company that we were working for at the time, they went under. And then we had an album, Alpha Magic.
Oh, Alpha Magic, right, okay, yeah.
They went under, and we had an album, you know, what was it? It was 80% done.
Right, okay, shit.
So we scrapped it.
Right.
We scrapped it. I just never thought anything of it.
Yeah.
Left it.
Yeah.
Now, flash forward.
Yes.
Always wanted to get on the label that had the horse on it.
Yeah.
That's how I referred.
Yeah, the horse label, yeah.
Didn't even know where it was called.
Yeah, that's what
I just heard tunes like, you know, was
the
it
Ferrari label, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Plastic Dreams and...
Yeah, man.
Oh, you know the tunes. Just the classic tunes. And even Wax Doctor's offering on there.
It was Jacob's Optical Stairway was one of my inceptions into RNS. That's the thing.
Tune after tune after tune after tune on this label with the horse on it. I'm like, you know what? I want to be on this label.
Yeah.
Later on in my years, I learned it was called RNS.
Yeah.
And Loxy.
Shout out Renat. Sorry.
Shout out Renat. Big up Renat and Sabine.
Sabine, always.
RNS.
And that's what RNS stands for those of you who don't know. It's Renat and Sabine. A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that until later years.
Yeah.
So big up RNS Records. Yeah. I said to myself, and Lox as well, because he knew, he had a friend who knows Renat very well.
Yeah.
And we were always talking about having a release and with Resound as well.
Yes.
But never really got round to it. And then one day we're like, right, come on, we need to get on this label. We need to try and do this thing. So we got the tunes together, and we sent off a demo CD or USB of 10 tracks.
Right.
And we didn't bother labeling them up on who it was.
Yeah.
We just said, I thought it best to just say RNS1, RNS2, RNS3, just like that, so that all you would get is the music.
Yes.
Luckily, it worked.
Yeah.
Renat, yourself must have heard it, you know.
So
I'm not sure at what stage you came in.
I think it all happened around the same time. It would have been. It was June. Wait, what year are we in?
Summertime.
No, yeah, it was. Was it June?
Before COVID, right?
Yeah, so it was the year before COVID. So it was. I got fired from the White House in August, and then went round, and then shit happened. And then the video's on the channel, by the way, the original video. And then in the foray after that, maybe about 3 or 4 days after, maybe about a week after the original video came out, I got a message saying, "Hi, this is Ren." I was like, and I remember the first person I called up was Marlon Equinox.
Oh, right.
Because obviously we were like, Heat and, Wax Doctor and Jacob's Doctor Stairway. It's like,
crazy.
Renat, and Ness has got in touch with me, like, what about, have you answered him? No, I don't know what to do. What should I do? It's like,
Yeah.
It was like total fanboying out.
Yeah.
Inviting me out there. Went and sat down. He told me about the project, what you guys are doing. So it must have literally just happened all
Just
at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then little did we know that it was going to then be like 2 years of madness, not only with
crazy
COVID, but with RNS itself.
Yeah,
and that was also ironic because, and fuck it, I'm going to say it, because he actually reached out to that particular individual and said, "Chris has joined, you're in London, go and link him up." The ex-label manager and this individual was supposed to like link me up. They didn't reach out. They didn't, and you'd think that, they've got a black A&R guy starting. Oh fuck yeah, cool.
It's changed everything.
Yeah, let's come and let's do it. But no, they weren't interested. They were just too busy, setting up their fucking extortion racket. So I'm really pleased that that's all got resolved. First of all, but let's not detract from that too much. I mean, having you guys on RNS, there's not much more to be said. I mean, it must be incredible to sort of finally be on there. I'll say finally, having seen the label, it's incredible for me to be involved with the label and to bring music to the label. I mean,
in drum and bass, it's tough to, I don't know, unless you're backed by the greatest managers and agencies, it's tough to know it's tough to measure where you're at in the scene, especially if you're not supported in the normal ways. You know, I do the work, I get paid. I do the work, I get this. It doesn't work like that in music, you know, a lot of the time. You know, unless you have really good people around you and maybe a hit track, or you know, you're uber talented. You know, you've fallen from the sky and come up with these tunes like Dillinger and Foltech back in the day. I never came up. I come up on a grind. I didn't know how to use any of the equipment. I didn't know, you know, music. You know, I can't read music. But I can make music. You know, that I came up on that type of flex. So it was really hard to get, you know, any type of scale on where I was in the scene. You do get people like Bookham saying that, oh, this tune is a classic, and that's when you're like, okay, cool. I've done something proper here. But when someone like R&S comes along and says, love this, love this, love this, love this, it is that scale. You get on that, because look at the artists I'm next to.
100%.
You know, the artists who are on that label, they basically invented dance music. A lot of these artists. So when you get signed up, then that's when, you know, it took a long time, basically. That's what I'm saying. It took a long time for me to realize, you know what, I can do this. Like in this sense, even without the, you know, the support that you would hope for, or other people have had. And that was that. But it became more than that. It became a statement as well. Because at the time, R&S had a lot of accusations about racism and stuff like that. And I said to Renard, listen, stop typing and making a conversation with people who don't want to conversate with you.
They don't.
Just put manifested visions out. Literally, just put manifested visions out. Don't talk. And let's get on with what we do. Music.
And then the press started to pull support from.
And then, as we did that, we were blackballed.
Oh, sorry, I got officially say sorry.
The irony is back to what I was saying about the support. I never had any support. I finally made it onto this label, which is a dream to be on for any person who makes dance music. And now I don't have the support again because of this pending case or pending whatever it was. This cloud looming over us.
And it was one of the most petty. It's all matter of public record, by the way, guys. So you can actually go and look it up. It's one of the most
court cases happened.
And it was thrown out because it's a load of nonsense. Like, you know, what was really frustrating about the whole thing was that, look, I'm gonna fuck it. I went to Mixmag. And I had a meeting with the two heads of editorial there. And because I was like, you do realise that this case has been thrown out, right? So we've got a situation now where there are literally like maybe 8 or 9 black artists or artists of colour. You know, you got, I mean, because it's not even just black artists, you've got Bratislava Collective.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? It's not about just black. It's loads of people from all diversities, all cultures, right? Because of one other person of colour getting his fucking panties in a wad because he wanted to start a label that he wanted Renard to pay for, he'd take 50% of, and he had a complete A&R control of. So he threw his little boiler room-esque fucking tantrum, got a whole bunch of under 30 white boys to support him, doing hashtags and shit. He didn't do a video, he didn't look at people and say, well, this is what happened. He did the hashtaggy thing and then threatened him, you know, and look, Ren's a 63-year-old, like 64, 65, I don't know what he is now. He's not going to live forever.
Just
anyway.
had a birthday.
It was, wasn't it? Just recently.
Just had a birthday.
So what is he, 65 now?
I think he's 65.
Yeah, 65, right? You know,
sorry, Ren, if you're not.
Right? But he's a 65-year-old Belgian, you know, horse breeder, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like that Bill Burr joke when he's talking about the guys from, you know, Duck Dynasty. You know what I mean? One of them sort of had a problem with like homosexuals. It's like, well, what did you expect? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying Renard was guilty of what he was accused of, but I can understand why it was really easy to throw that tag at him. Because he's just sort of, he's like a Bond villain. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like, oh, he's white and he's powerful, he's got money, and But then when Juliet did who used to work there, she did a survey of the label. It's 47% non-white artists on RNS. Over 3,000 releases. 3,000 releases? 2,500 releases?
That's almost half.
That's almost half. I think when you add women, it goes over half. But, you know, you had Sven Vath, who had like 9,000 releases, and it was all white men. And like no energy went to that at all. And it's because of this one Rishi Shunaki fucking individual who, again, had a panty attack. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what a panty attack is. But you know what I mean? He just... It just really annoyed me. And I was being called a fucking coon. I was getting death threats. I was getting all sorts of shit. That's what I mean. Like, I was getting it because the thing was,
They try to come at us, but me and Locks, you know, we keep ourselves to ourselves, so no one could actually come out and blatantly say...
No one did.
You're this or you're that.
No, but the problem was I just called out that particular group. So people felt like, so you're going to call these guys out and then you're going to go and stand with another bunch of fucking racists. Like, do you know what I mean? People who I, you know, respect.
Oh, right, yeah.
I can see how it might look problematic. People who I mentioned just before we came on here, you know, were like kind of in my inbox kind of going, oh, wait, you're working for him? I was like, yeah, I'm working for him. Is that a problem? And it's like, you know, in silence, you know, it's like, not cool, but whatever. And like, you know, I've let it go. But it was really problematic for me. I had artists who didn't understand the concept of, you know, how labels work, calling me all sorts of things. I had MCs with identity issues saying that I'm, you know, everything they despise as a human being. God. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it was just like, hold on. And I said to the Mixmag guys, and I'm sorry guys, but and maybe I'm going to lose loads of press for this, but, you know, it's like they've signed Loxy and Ink. They're like literally two of the blackest fucking junglists. Like, do you not understand how stupid you sound right now? Because I'm standing here with my black ass self in your white ass office, yeah, and you're gonna tell me what racism is. Did you not think that kind of we would know what a true racist was?
Right.
Now, like I said, I get why people would have been able to throw that thing at him, but what angered me, you know, was that people didn't sort of look around him and kind of go, well, hold on a minute, there's a whole bunch of, you know what I mean? Like, why is that happening? Camilla Beeper, Subject 13, who I live with, Big Black Hulk, I call him. Do you know what I mean? He's just been signed. Now, people are going to go, oh, well, you know, he talked too much and, you know, people always do that. They sign black artists when they're in trouble. Well, there's certain other labels that haven't signed fuck all black artists. But anyway, sorry. I've done the therapy. Warsaw. So it just annoyed me, Giles. That's all, because it was like that whole situation was so.
It was another
tiresome.
excuse. It was another excuse.
I know exactly.
You know, with me, it's like, oh, you're too moody. I don't want to deal with you before you've even spoken to me.
Exactly.
Or oh, you know, I got labelled somebody. Oh, you mans are too. You mans are too dark.
Yeah.
That's why I used to get back in the scene. So that's why I can't play at your dance, because I play too dark. And now the scene in itself has a whole genre of music which is dedicated to the way I used to play back then. And now it's you're too old, or you're the old school, or whatever. You know, it's there's always some sort of invisible wall to put up, and that was another way to just isolate us and just be like, well, you know what, you're dealing with a label that's racist. I'm like, well, I'm on the label. I'm
on the label. It's like, oh my God.
I'm on me being on the label.
Irritating.
Should bypass all of that. And I get it, right? There's a court case pending. All right, let's stand back and wait till everything's happened. But even after that, everything
happened. They were like, "Oh no!" Because apparently one of those individuals went back after my meeting and said, "Well, just because the court case goes through that doesn't mean that Renat's not a racist."
Yeah.
What kind of dumbass, stupid logic is that? It's stupid.
There was always
dumb, real dumb.
Always a logic to
keeping the black man out.
To keeping me off of those magazines or getting that feature or whatever. When the track, you know, no one's asking for any handouts. The thing is making noise.
Yeah.
The thing when it came out organically, like before we had done any type of real promotions, it had set off I had people from the UK hip hop industry, actual bona fide MCs in the UK hip hop industry talking about that track has had an impact and it's got people thinking about UK hip hop.
Absolutely.
That's what they will say.
As they should, not fucking drill, proper hip hop.
That's what they were saying. That's what they were saying.
Each other.
So I knew that we had made something special.
Yeah.
And like I say, it became more than just a piece of music. It was a statement.
It
for
was
that
very much a
time.
statement, yeah.
It was a
yeah.
statement.
And I think Renard was smart enough, and that's one of the things I would always admire about him, because, you know,
to make that power move.
He made that power move.
Yeah,
he was like,
because without him, like you asked me the question, I didn't finish it.
Oh, sorry.
What actually happened was I had submitted these tracks for R&S, and they were all drum and bass.
Right.
And my wife came in and said, "Why don't you play him some of the Fifth Element stuff?" Because I had just been playing it the day before. I was being like, "Oh, you remember that? You remember that?" I was like, "No, I don't want to get on the mic again now." She's like, "He might like it." So I reluctantly put one of the oldest of our tracks, which never saw light of day, into the mix.
Yeah.
And in doing that, he picked that out. But the track had been made by another producer who didn't want anything to do with R&S. Oh. So I had to me and Locks had to go in the studio and recreate another type of thing which sat in the same flavour and then rewrap the whole thing again.
Yeah,
you know,
better,
so
yeah.
we couldn't submit. We couldn't submit the track that it was because it was a very different track. But luckily, that move, them not allowing us to put that track out, meant that we manifested in the way we made it. And for me, manifested represents exactly what I wanted to say in the way we wanted to say it. So
absolutely. I mean, it was
a blessing.
I mean, it really was, and I think it was just an important. The thing about just like the if you, I don't know what else to call it, but other than the black voice, if you like, it just it's I just don't know. It's really irritating how we've got to a point in society where you can have an issue on race and yet a black voice doesn't hold
it's not
any
powerful
weight
enough. And that's what it shows me, that racism in its media sense has been taken by people who don't experience it.
They don't,
yeah. So you'll be defending racism for me, but not listening to what I've got to say. Which is the biggest problem with a lot of these movements. You need to listen to the people at ground level and take their stories on board and not write your own narratives, because then we don't actually address or attack what needs to be attacked or addressed or defended against. You're then listening to people who have no sense of what any of it is about. And then we never really hit the crux on the head.
No,
and that's what's happened with a lot of this movement. Since George Floyd, I thought, maybe there's a... And it's not just about black people.
No.
You need to understand.
No.
People need to understand that hate comes in all forms.
Yeah, 100%.
But at the moment, I think I got from one of Jumping Jack Frost's posts, he must have posted up, "This house is on fire at the moment. So we need to put the fire out here." Which made sense to me.
Yeah.
Because everyone goes through some sort of a problem and a hating, scenario of some sense. And we all have a story.
Yeah.
But right now, at that time...
Yeah.
It was this that needed to be focused on, and everyone wanted to focus on everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
And unfortunately, that has carried through, because now we're talking about everything else, and we're not talking about the very thing that started the whole movement off in the first place. And it's black people's fault, white people's fault, Indians people's fault, Chinese people's fault. It's the people's fault that we haven't focused on what we should have focused on.
Yeah, no.
And we're pretty much back to square one.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people, pulling things out. Oh, that's not right to say, or that's inappropriate. But we're not actually dealing with the problems at ground level.
Ground level. Before we go, because I'm just curious. Because, well, fuck it, I may as well ask. I'm just curious what you've been thinking about it's probably an easy question to answer though, but what did you think what's happened with Kanye?
Oh, God.
Sorry, just as you were saying that, I was like, I'm just throwing it out there, sorry.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of with him up to a certain point. Well, not with him, but I was sort of like, he might have something else to say, and he's like,
Kanye, for me, this is for me personally, talented guy.
Yeah.
But I know drum and bass producers.
Yeah.
So, for me... Wherever everyone else thought his music was, I know Photech, I know Dillinger, I know us, our crew, Architecture Recordings, Introspective Records. I know what we're capable of.
100%.
So it was never something that I would look at him as an artist and think, wow,
we
were already doing that. as I say, in 1960, I wasn't born in 1960, by the way, but I always say that about what we were doing in drum and bass.
Yeah.
So that never blanketed me over. Then, at the same time, he's doing a lot of church things. And what I know of the church is that if you are following in a humble, true, wise sense, you don't become the antagonist.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, in more recent times, he's doing a lot more of that than he is unifying.
Yeah.
The church and what he represents, or what he was saying that he represents, is supposed to be unification.
Yeah.
Unifying.
It's not.
And right now, that's not what's happening. So for me, I don't tap into any of it.
Yeah.
None of it whatsoever. Yeah. If it comes on, it switches off, and I put on some music.
Oh, right,
if it comes on, I switch.
I might try that.
It's nothing to do with me. I don't have anything to do with it, because for me, if we're gonna put a message across, it needs to come across in a way that, number one, people of other ilks are going to listen to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because he'll open his mouth on some of the things he's saying, and he deads the conversation right there and then because he's offended people.
It's just so easy. I mean, absolutely.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, what is it that you are actually saying when you say what you're saying? The why behind what he's saying.
I think I know, but my feeling is that, you know, there should be more black ownership of music.
Well, say that.
Yeah, that's what.
Say that. Don't say what you have been saying.
Yeah, I know. It's just really annoying.
And you, Kanye, as a person with that money,
Yeah.
in the position you were in, you were able to give a lot of people money to start those labels that you're talking about.
He did, and he panned it. Kid Cudi and a whole bunch of others were absolutely ruined by their
Not
careers.
to say that I know what he's done in his life, because
Yeah.
like I say, I don't tap into it at all.
Yeah.
It's not where I come from.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not where I'm if you didn't know, I'm Ghanaian of family heritage and ethnicity, and where I'm from, in Ghana in particular, in Africa that is, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
It is a country of we greet people from all walks of life.
Right.
You know, you go to a Ghanaian person's house, the door's open, the food is there for everyone to share, and this, that, and the other. Whereas a lot of other cultures are a bit more enclosed.
Yeah,
they're invite the people that they know and stuff like that. And Ghana's not like that. Ghana's one of the few countries that I can't talk on all African countries, but I can talk on my country. Yeah. And we are very, very open type of people. And if you go to the country itself, we are very inviting.
Yeah.
And you can see our influence, Ghanaians' influence across the world.
Right.
In culture, food, music, and everything, because of that fact. And our gold as well from back in the day as well attracted a lot of people.
Yeah.
to the country, but that's a whole new.
Yeah, no, we'll do it on next episode.
We'll come back. We'll do a new episode. But like I say, my culture is not one that follows any tradition of isolation.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, it's just. So
Kanye, for me, we can't really have that type.
I just got really frustrated with him because it's just. I've always kind of. I sort of like. Well, I say backed him, but I kind of was always with him, and even I even understood the irony of him wearing God help me, but I even understood him doing the White Lives Matter t-shirt. I even understood the irony of that. I thought there was a sort of point there.
There's a message there.
There was a message there, and there's stuff like that,
Yeah,
and I got that. Standing next to Candice, not so much, even though she's gorgeous. But that's not the point. It just sort of like descended into like, okay, what room are we in now? Like, I don't get what we're doing now, mate.
Random. You know what I mean? It's very random and built on how he feels on the day. For me, he speak on how he feels, and a lot of us have had we've got loads to say, and lots come up in our heads.
Yeah,
but you don't necessarily just spiel that, especially on the platform he's on. If Kanye talks, there's 100,000 people listening just at any one time, right? At any one time.
Yeah.
So therefore, you have to have that in mind.
Yeah.
So therefore, the sentences and the words you pick have to be sensitive to that fact.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, it's whatever you want to say at that time. And that's the problem. And you end up isolating a lot of the people who actually love you. So.
Well, this is it. I mean, like, so I've had a couple of Jewish guests on this show.
Yeah.
And there was, I had two sort of thing. There was a Benny V or these Jewish.
I've got Jewish family. I've got
Yeah,
Jewish
yeah,
family.
yeah,
Yeah,
Jewish family.
literally
Yeah,
got
that's right,
Jewish
yeah.
family. Like, so,
Yeah.
you know, what are you saying now,
Yeah.
Kanye? Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
You know,
It's
like,
not what you do.
shall I leave half my family at home, like,
Yeah.
to come and to your concert? Like, how do we do this?
Yeah, I know.
It's just,
It was just so weird. And then so we had Benny V, I had a Booty, he's a rapper, amazing rapper, on there. And then I got like some sort of weird DMs, not for people I knew, but they were like, you know, like when you get the Facebook message requests.
Yes.
And you get like random messages and you sort of say,
Yeah.
So why are you getting all these Jewish people on your show and all this
Oh,
sort of
wow.
stuff, right?
Oh, wow.
And then sending me, you know, certain videos, certain clips, certain things.
Okay.
And so, you know, I had Verity Raphael, who's another a person of Jewish origin. Lee, don't worry, I won't say another Jew. Well, I did, but so and then I jokingly said in a WhatsApp on Instagram, I said, you know, well, I'm having a quote unquote another Jew on the show, meaning fuck you, the person that has a problem with me having
Jewish.
So it was actually in solidarity, Lee. It's alright, we sorted it out now. And this particular individual, Lee, who's quite a well-known DJ, was quite upset by it because it turns out he's Jewish. I didn't know, because that's one of their superpowers. As it were, you know, you have to kind of find out. Like, you know, we walk into a room, it's quite obvious what we are. But anyway, that said. And he got really upset, and then I got even more upset with him because I was literally doing that in defence of you.
I was doing it, yeah. This is where the communication breaks down.
It was really, really annoying.
Yeah.
And it's fine though. We had our back and forth, and you know, I changed the wording.
But that's the important thing.
Well, that's the thing.
Back and forth.
We had the back and forth, yeah. And like at least I respect him for at least giving me a listen. And back, he said my voice notes were disgusting. They weren't disgusting. They were just pointed and direct and articulate. So, you know, if that's disgusting, then it's fine. But we're okay. We are okay. Sorry, I still
no more fisticuffs.
Yeah, I still feel it looks like I'm still angry about it. I'm a little bit angry about it because it really annoyed me that I was actually,
because it hurts when you're actually
really
I'm trying to give you some food.
Yeah.
And it turns out you're thinking that I'm trying to
poison you.
Yeah. I'm trying to put you. There you go.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's just like, you know, but it's cool. It's fine. It's one of those emotive things. And I guess it's you know. You know, if there's one group of people that are really used to dealing with race situations, it's black people.
Yeah, right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and we're pretty adept at it, and you know, we're experts pretty much, which is why it's so annoying that I had that interaction with the guys at Mixmag. And look, don't get me wrong, I love Mixmag, and they've given me many opportunities. I don't particularly have a problem with Mixmag as a company, but it was really irritating to have these two very, very young, probably quite privileged white kids tell me
about racism.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest
it's just
problem
it's really dumb
with it in general.
It's really dumb.
You need to listen to the people.
Yeah,
you need to like in most,
and not just a Carla. Yeah. There's other people. No hate for a Carla, but you know, it's just sort of like, well, there's certain names they throw out at you.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know what I mean?
No, you need to listen. You need to listen to all the people who are influenced, who are impacted. I should say.
Absolutely, who are directly involved with the shit that's happening.
Yeah.
But there you go. So look, let's try and it's on a positive note because it's not negative. It's just it's what it is. So
it's a difficult conversation. Isn't it?
It can be
to some, because they don't know how to approach it, all the right words to say, what makes them feel funny. But it's a conversation that needs to be had. So
well, one thing I always find interesting is that, you know, obviously you're of African origin. You know, well, your family come from Ghana. My parents are Bajan and Grenadian. Yeah, so I've got like this line of French blood in me from Grenada, and you know, it's all sort of like weird. And you know, we have a very, you know, direct, for the most part, pointed way of speaking.
Sure.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
right?
Like
most Africans,
right? You know, I grew up around Deptford Market. You see people shout, you know, speaking and communicating a certain way. I had friends out Arabic, for example. You know, when they would talk, you think they were having the worst argument in the world. I remember one of my friends used to run a place on Edgware Road. Two of his mates were outside there, and it was an argument about Biggie and Tupac. Do you know what I mean? But it looked like
the volume and the characteristics.
But it looked like they were going to kill each other.
Yeah, it's just,
but they were just having a banterous argument, really.
Sure.
And everyone's different, and I do find it frustrating sometimes when you are just kind of on level 1. Like, do you know what I mean? And then someone comes back at you with, "Oh, well, that was quite aggressive," and it's like, well, no, I'm just talking directly. It's not. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm not being aggressive. I'm just being me, and this is my culture, and this is how we communicate.
It's understanding cultures.
It's understanding
exactly
cultures. And you know,
exactly
it all goes back to what I said in the original video. Have a black friend, get more black people in your life, and you won't have that problem.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
If you know, I don't know what my point is there, really. But
well, it sounded like you're alluding to just, you know, in order to understand, you need to be able to open your channel for understanding.
Absolutely.
Which means talking to a myriad of people.
Absolutely.
Not just what makes you feel comfortable.
And not just the people at your work.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Well, you know, Doreen at work is Jamaican.
Yeah. I had a friend once who was from blah blah blah. Yeah, that, you know.
Invite him to your house. Anyway, what's sorry. I've got some personal shit going on, so it's just probably coming out now. What's happening for next year?
Right. Next year, January 20th.
Yeah.
The 20th of January. All roads lead, Soundwave.
Got ya.
At the Steelyard. It's going to be old school vibes with the newest music, the oldest music, middle of the road music, whatever you want to call it. But one thing it's going to be is vibes.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to launch off. It turns out there are a lot of other dances that have picked that day as well.
Okay.
Because when we picked that day, there was nothing else happening. Now it turns out there's some other dances. But you know what? My thing is, let us have that richness in London where there's 3,000-4,000 people on road looking to listen to our music. That's a powerful thing.
Right. Well, that urges me to get you all involved with Clashmouth, because Clashmouth is it's not just the label market. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes.
But it started off as a shared diary for all the jungle and drum and bass promoters, so I'll get you in the group.
Perfect.
So what everyone does is sort of looks at the diary.
Yeah,
we go,
perfect.
We can avoid each other.
So we can do that. So yeah. I think if we separate it, say for instance, I've got a gig on the Friday and you want to do the gig on the Friday as well, we'll look at some other Fridays or look to how we can work with each other in crazy ways. Because my vision for the bad news I got on other events happening on my day was, okay, maybe, you know, in the future what we do is we circulate the DJ. So even if we do want to do the same day, I then play at that person's gig, that person plays at my gig.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and then what we do is we try and work together in that way rather than creating a divide of, you know, I don't want anything to do with this or anything to do with that.
Yeah,
we come together
totally.
and we expand like that.
Totally. So I'll get you in the Clashmouth group pronto, and then we'll make sure that doesn't happen again. And I'll find out once we turn the camera off who that other group, because we're not going to promote them. I'm trying to think if it's someone I like. But
Soundwave is all you need on your minds right now.
Soundwave
when I'm here, Soundwave. Yeah. Soundwave.
And then
Soundwave.
Future projects for RNS?
Yeah, we got an album coming out on RNS. Full album.
Yeah.
That's gonna touch on various genres of music as well. So, you know, for the music lovers, you're gonna be really into that.
There will be drum and bass.
100%.
Right, okay, sorry, just make sure I could just...
What people need to understand is hip-hop is my side, you know, that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but first and foremost, Ink is about drum and bass.
Yeah.
We do other genres of music. I do house music and other things, and I've had, you know, other pseudonyms and stuff, but we will focus on drum and bass and then build some other genres around it.
Yeah.
As I say, Soundwave, all roads lead to Soundwave. That's the most important thing in the short term. And then Architecture Recordings. Stay tuned for some wicked new artists coming through. Like,
amazing.
Yeah. I wasn't looking to do anything with anyone new because, you know, we kind of done that with Renegade Hardware, and I just wanted to focus a bit more on the immediate crew and stuff. But the music has come through, and there's a couple of artists that are really, you know, they can't be ignored. So yes, stay tuned for Architecture Recordings as well. And
this Christmas, Boxing Day, so you can dance off your turkey or your nut roast or whatever it is you choose to have. Yeah, we got Ink, we got Benny V, we have got Marvelous Kane down at Lewisham, Fox and Firkin on the 26th.
That's gonna be some dub plate special.
Dub plate
make sure
special.
you get down to that.
Sorry. Hercules. Sorry. Anyway, Giles.
Listen.
Thank you, brother.
As always, man.
Really appreciate that.
As always.
Until the next one.
Peace.